There is a distinct, quiet heartbreak that every gardener knows all too well. You walk out to your garden in the cool morning air, expecting to see the vibrant, velvety petals of your favorite roses opening to greet the sun. Instead, you are met with a sight that makes your stomach sink. The leaves, which should be a deep, glossy forest green, are starting to show small, pale spots. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the green color begins to fade. Within a week, some of those leaves have turned a sickly, washed-out yellow, dropping to the ground at the slightest breeze. The branches, once sturdy and reaching proudly toward the sky, now look thin, spindly, and fragile. Even when the plant tries its best to produce buds, they sit there, tight and weak, lacking the sheer strength required to burst into a beautiful bloom. At first glance, your immediate instinct might be to panic. You might assume your beloved plant has fallen victim to a devastating fungal disease, a hidden insect infestation, or some mysterious pathogen sweeping through your neighborhood. You might find yourself rushing to the local garden center, spending hard-earned money on chemical sprays, synthetic fertilizers, or expensive pest treatments. But in reality, the problem often has absolutely nothing to do with the plant itself. Most gardeners don't know this, but the true culprit is hiding in plain sight, completely out of view. The real issue lies deep beneath the surface, in the very foundation of your garden, the soil. When we take a closer, more mindful look at the ground surrounding the base of a struggling rose, a clear story begins to unfold. You will often find that the soil is incredibly compact, hard as a brick, and filled with heavy gravel or lifeless clay. It has lost its ability to retain moisture, feeling bone dry just hours after watering, and it shows almost no signs of organic matter left. There are no earthworms, no rich earthy smell, and no dark, crumbly texture. It is, for all intents and purposes, dead dirt. A weak, struggling plant always starts with the roots, and weakened roots always begin with tired, depleted soil. Think of your rose's root system as its anchor and its lifeline. When the soil becomes compacted and stripped of its natural biology, those roots are essentially starved of oxygen and locked in a concrete-like prison. They cannot expand, they cannot breathe, and they certainly cannot absorb the essential nutrients required to fuel those gorgeous, heavy blooms. If you try to force a plant in this condition to bloom by dumping heavy, synthetic fertilizers on it, you will only cause more damage. It is the equivalent of trying to feed a heavy, rich meal to someone who is suffering from severe dehydration. What we must do instead is shift our entire philosophy of gardening. We must stop trying to force the plant to bloom through artificial means and instead learn how to bring the soil back to life. That is the secret to true long-term sustainability in the garden. When you focus your energy on nurturing the soil will naturally take care of the plant, and the plant will reward you with a lifetime of breathtaking flowers. Today, we are going to explore how to completely restore tired, lifeless rose soil using a completely natural, chemical-free formula made entirely from simple ingredients you already have sitting in your kitchen right now. To understand why this natural kitchen formula is so incredibly powerful, we have to look at the science of how plants and soil microbes interact. We are not just making a simple plant food, we are brewing a living biological activator designed to wake up the dormant beneficial microorganisms living in your soil. Here's where the real secret begins. Our first ingredient is simple, everyday white rice. Rice is an absolute powerhouse of hidden nutrients that gardeners have used for centuries to boost soil health. We begin by adding about 3 teaspoons of raw, uncooked rice into a clean jar filled with 300 milliliters of room temperature water. Using a spoon, stir the mixture gently. As you stir, you will notice the water instantly begins to turn a cloudy, milky white color. This cloudiness is exactly what we want. It is the visual sign that the starch, essential B vitamins, and natural minerals locked inside the rice grains are dissolving into the water. Once stirred, we let this mixture sit undisturbed for a few hours. During this resting period, the water becomes infused with a mild, easily accessible nutrient source. Most people don't realize that B vitamins act as powerful metabolic catalysts for both plant roots and beneficial soil bacteria. This starchy water serves as the perfect starter fuel, providing an easily digestible carbon source that helps kickstart the activity of the beneficial microorganisms already present in your soil. Next, we are going to harness the power of potato peels. You will need about 20 to 30 grams of fresh potato peels, which is roughly the skin of one medium-sized potato. Instead of tossing these peels into the trash, we are going to cut them into very small, fine pieces. This small step is incredibly important, and it is a technique that many experienced organic gardeners swear by. By cutting the peels into tiny fragments, we are dramatically increasing their overall surface area. This allows the microbes in our fermentation jar to break down the organic material at a much faster rate. Potato peels are exceptionally rich in potassium, a vital macronutrient that roses absolutely crave. Potassium is responsible for regulating water movement within the plant, opening and closing the stomata on the leaves, and strengthening the cellular walls of the stems. By breaking down these peels, we are creating a slow-release source of natural potassium and trace minerals, allowing the plant to absorb them in a highly bioavailable form without the risk of chemical root burn. Our third ingredient is one of the greatest soil conditioners on the planet: eggshells. You will need the shells of about 2 to 3 eggs. After cracking your eggs, make sure to wash the shells thoroughly to remove any leftover egg white and let them dry completely. Once dry, place them in a mortar and pestle, a Ziploc bag, or a blender, and crush them until they are reduced to an incredibly fine, dust-like powder. This is the step many people skip. Many gardeners simply toss large, crushed chunks of eggshell directly onto their soil, expecting instant results. However, the calcium in eggshells exists in the form of calcium carbonate, which is highly insoluble and takes years to break down on its own. By grinding the shells into a microscopic powder, we are giving the soil microbes a massive head start. The finer the particles are, the faster the natural soil acids and microorganisms can dissolve them. This process steadily releases calcium into the root zone, which is crucial for building strong cell walls, preventing disease, and ensuring your rose stems grow thick and sturdy enough to support heavy, massive blooms. Once all three of these incredible ingredients are prepared, we combine them. Place the finely chopped potato peels and the pulverized eggshell powder directly into a clean glass jar. Next, pour the cloudy, nutrient-rich rice water over the top, making sure all the ingredients are fully submerged. Give the mixture a vigorous stir to ensure everything is evenly distributed. Now cover the jar tightly with a lid and let it sit in a warm, dark place to ferment for 24 to 48 hours. During this time, invisible biological processes begin to take place. Wild yeasts and beneficial lactic acid bacteria naturally present on the potato peels, and in the air will begin to multiply rapidly, feeding on the starches from the rice and the sugars from the potato skins. As they ferment, they produce mild organic acids that help chelate the calcium from the eggshells and the potassium from the potatoes, turning them into a liquid gold that is instantly recognizable and highly absorbable by your rose's root system. After 48 hours of fermentation, your mixture will have transformed. When you open the jar, you should notice a slightly sweet, yeasty, and earthy aroma, a clear sign that the beneficial microbes have done their job beautifully. Now we must move on to a highly critical step that requires our full attention: the filtration and preparation of our solution. You should never pour this raw, fermented mixture directly onto your plants. Doing so can lead to unwanted mold growth on the soil surface and attract pests like gnats or rodents. Instead, we must filter the solution through a fine mesh sieve or a clean, thin piece of cheesecloth. Press down gently on the solids to extract every single drop of the concentrated liquid. What you are left with is a highly concentrated, nutrient-dense, microbe-rich elixir. This clear liquid is packed with dissolved minerals, vitamins, and organic acids that are ready to go to work. But before we take this liquid to the garden, we must dilute it. Take your concentrated solution and mix it with clean, room-temperature water at a strict 1:2 ratio, 1 part fertilizer to 2 parts water. This is a crucial step that many beginners overlook. Because the fermented solution is highly active and concentrated, applying it raw could shock a weakened, sensitive root system. By diluting it, we reduce the nutrient concentration to a gentle, stable level, allowing the struggling plant to drink it in naturally and safely without any risk of root shock. Now, with our diluted solution ready, you might be tempted to run straight to your yellowing rose and pour it on. But stop for a moment. There is an incredibly important preparatory phase that many people completely skip, and it is the exact reason why even the best fertilizers sometimes fail to show any results at all. Before we apply a single drop of our natural fertilizer, we must prepare the plant and the ground around it. First, take a pair of sharp, clean pruning shears. Carefully inspect your rose bush and begin pruning away any completely dry, dead branches, spent flowers that have finished blooming, and heavily damaged or diseased leaves. When a plant is struggling, it wastes a massive amount of its limited energy trying to keep dying tissues alive. By cleanly removing these dead ends, you are helping the plant conserve its precious resources, allowing it to redirect all its internal energy toward healing its roots and pushing out healthy, vibrant new growth. Next, we must turn our attention to the soil directly beneath the plant. If the soil around the base of your rose is covered in weeds, compacted into a hard crust, or littered with debris, your liquid fertilizer will simply run off the sides and never reach the roots. We must clear away every single weed growing near the base. Weeds are silent thieves. They have aggressive, shallow root systems that will eagerly steal the water, nutrients, and oxygen intended for your rose. Furthermore, thick weeds trap excess moisture around the lower stems, creating a humid microclimate that invites fungal diseases and pests. Once the area is completely clear of weeds, take a small hand fork or a hand cultivator. Very gently loosen the top 3 to 5 centimeters of the soil surface. This is a delicate operation. You must avoid digging too deeply or working too close to the main trunk of the rose, as you do not want to tear or damage the shallow, sensitive feeder roots. By gently breaking up that hard, crusty top layer, you are opening up vital pathways for oxygen to penetrate the soil. This simple act of aeration instantly improves the soil's permeability, ensuring that when we apply our liquid nutrient solution, it can sink deeply and evenly down into the active root zone where it is needed most. Now the moment of transformation has finally arrived, and we can begin the watering process. For a weak, struggling rose bush, moderation is key. You do not want to drown the plant. Instead, use only about 150 to 200 milliliters of our diluted fermented solution per application. When applying the liquid, do not pour it directly onto the main stem or the crown of the plant. Instead, pour it gently in a circle about 5 to 10 centimeters away from the base. This area corresponds to the drip line of the plant, which is exactly where the active, hungry feeder roots are located. Pouring it here allows the solution to gradually soak deep into the root zone, drawing the roots outward and encouraging them to expand into a wider, stronger network. Immediately after watering, there is one final, highly effective step you should take to lock in all that goodness. Lightly cover the damp soil surface with a thin layer of fine, rich compost or a handful of clean, dry straw mulch. This simple layer acts as a protective blanket. It shields the soil from the drying effects of the sun and wind, retains vital moisture, and creates a dark, humid, protected environment where our newly introduced beneficial microorganisms can multiply and thrive. What happened next when I first tried this method absolutely blew me away, and the results became visible just days later. If you watch your plant closely, you will begin to witness a beautiful, step-by-step resurrection. By day 3, the biology in the soil will have completely woken up, breaking down compacted minerals and delivering them straight to the roots. By day 7, the first true visual signs of recovery will appear. Those pale, sickly yellow leaves will begin to turn a rich, vibrant green once again as the chlorophyll production ramps up. You will also notice the very first tiny reddish-purple new shoots starting to peek out from the leaf nodes. By week 2 and 3, the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. The entire plant becomes noticeably stronger. The thin, weak stems begin to thicken and grow sturdier, standing tall and proud. And then the ultimate reward, new, plump, healthy flower buds will begin to form at the tips of the new growth. This incredible transformation proves that the key to beautiful gardening is not about relying on expensive, synthetic chemicals. It is about understanding the natural relationship between the soil, the microbes, and the roots. When you nurture the soil the right way, your plants will naturally thrive, exhibiting a level of health, resilience, and beauty that chemical fertilizers can simply never replicate. If you have a rose bush in your yard that is currently struggling, yellowing, or refusing to bloom, I highly encourage you to skip the garden center chemicals and try this simple natural kitchen recipe. Watch the daily changes with patience, because caring for living things is about so much more than just technique. It is about developing a deep understanding of nature's perfect systems. If you found this guide helpful and want to learn more practical, natural ways to bring your garden to life, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your own gardening stories in the comments below. I would love to hear how your roses respond to this recipe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video with more time-tested secrets to help your garden thrive naturally.